Hey, how's it going, guys? Dustin here, and for today's lesson I'm going to talk about licks. So what makes licks really great to use within your solos? Well, for starters, it's a really great break from just doing scale runs the whole time. Too much of one thing, like scale runs, can be really monotonous and boring, and no one really wants that within their music. The second thing is that with each set of licks that you learn, that's going to be a staple point as to whatever genre you're playing. So let's say if I'm doing a country session or a country gig somewhere, I'm obviously going to use country licks. But a more detailed answer as to why I'm doing this is because these licks have elements within them that help define what the country genre is. And that's going to be things like chicken picking, hybrid picking, banjo rolls, and steel bends. And all these things have been made prominent by country guitar players of the past. So that's going to be like Jerry Reed, Chet Atkins, and Albert Lee. And by knowing and doing all of this, that's going to really impress whoever called me, and I'm probably going to get called again. So the final thing that I'll say that's really good about licks is that as you learn these licks, they're going to be kind of like a staple point within your own playing. And because not everybody plays the same way, the licks are going to sound slightly different from one another, yet they're going to have a sense of familiarity to whoever's listening to you play. And that's going to draw the listener in. And you're basically just recycling the musical language of whatever genre that you're playing. And that's a huge plus too. So talking about licks and artists, there's a really famous jazz educator named David Baker who would go and transcribe countless jazz musicians. And it would range from bebop, cool jazz, hard bop, and just the works. And he would go and give these licks to his students. And they would go and learn them and do whatever he told them to do with them. So there's one lick that he found within the bebop era that kept on coming up over and over and over again. So much that I have to do this with my hand. And this lick is known as the David Baker bebop lick. So I think this lick is really interesting because it made me do that stupid thing with my hand. But all terrible jokes aside, I think it's kind of interesting because this lick has such a big foundation within the jazz world. But jazz players of today, they learn this lick from their teachers and they don't really ever do anything with it, and it's a meme now. And I think this is really unfortunate, and it really inspired me to make this lesson, and I'm going to do a series on this using that David Baker bebop lick. So for part one of this series, I'm going to use that David Baker lick, and I made a PDF with that lick on top, and I found 3 other artists that are using this lick in their own way. And those artists are Bill Evans, Dizzy Gillespie, and Clifford Brown. And I'm going to show you all how to play them right now, and in the next video we're going to talk about analyzing them. Alright, so here is the David Baker bebop lick. Here's the Clifford Brown lick. Here's the Bill Evans lick. And here's the Dizzy Gillespie lick. Okay, so notice how I did a little bit within that Dizzy Gillespie one. He mixes straight 8s with swing 8s, and in like the Clifford Brown one too, it's like a really exaggerated like straight 8s. It's not just like swing the whole time. Try to do that within these lines and when you're playing just in general. And by doing this, it will give you more variety within your lines instead of just doing swing the whole time. And by doing this, it will also give you a little bit of more advantage with your phrasing, because it's really more difficult to do this on guitar than that of like a trumpet. It's way easier to do that, or like a piano. But by mastering this, you'll have a lot more at your disposal. So I'll see you in part 2.